Hi everyone, how you doing? This is probably going to be a quick video, but just like to share with you a little project I've been working on. It's just a bit of a card game. It's basically, it's stalled out a little bit in that I haven't really worked on it in a while, and there are some finicky little problems that I think need to be ironed out. But it's been a fun little game to make. And it's a game that I made in paper, and I've only just put it into Tabletop Simulator just because it's a little bit easier to show people. And if I ever was to play with anyone, it'd probably be over Tabletop Simulator because I'm sure my housemates are sick of playing my card games at this point. At some point, it would be nice to. I need to sort of, I guess, learn how to code so that I can add some more functionality to it. For example, the ability to see what cards are, sort of to have a transparency so that you can see through them when they're face down. It'll eventually make sense why that would be important. But there are certain little bits and pieces that I'd like to add to this. But as a general rule, this is my card game. It's called Investigate. It will probably change names. Each player starts with 10 cards. That's the full deck, and they're both the same. You shuffle and arrange them into a triangle like this. So that's my opponent's, and this is mine. Because they're shuffled, all of the cards are, in random spots, and depending on how they sort of land, they could be better or worse, So for example, you could, probably don't need to explain that anymore, but yeah. And the goal of the game is to expose all of your opponent's cards, and to keep as many of yours face down as humanly possible. So the types of cards that you have, so for example, these red cards are typically, because I pick cards, so if it was my turn, for example, I would turn over one of my opponent's cards. So just as an example, I'll go through how a game would sort of look. So I would pick this one, and okay, so it's a red one. And so reds are typically good for me. So if I flip over an opponent's card and it's red, I probably want to leave it flipped. My choices are to flip it, or I could leave it face down because maybe I'll use that later. But just for the sake of simplicity, your opponent reveals one of your cards without activating its effect. And so this card effectively nullifies another card. So if I were to turn this over, whatever is written on the card does nothing. It has no effect. It will eventually, you'll have to take my word for it, it will eventually make sense, but there's sort of a couple of different little systems that you need to understand, and then it all sort of clicks together. But for example, I'm just going to tell you all the card effects first, and then hopefully it'll make sense. So anticipate you just saw when your opponent reveals one of your cards. Your opponent reveals one of your cards without activating its effect. So that's not good if it appears on my side because it's red. Interrogate. Your opponent may inspect two of your cards. So this just means look at them. You don't get to flip them face up, but I get to go. My opponent would get to go. Okay, so Reese has a negotiate here, and he's got a fixate there. Excellent. Now they know those cards. It's for this reason that transparency would be lovely, because you do in this game need to make a distinction between face up, face down, but also face down, but you know what it is. And it's kind of annoying to have to be like, oh, which one was negotiate again? I think it was this one. When really it would just be nice if this could be semi-transparent and transparent, and you could just know, oh, that's what it is. Because of cards like this, cards that give you information, but they don't actually do anything just yet. So that's those two. And then extrapolate. Your opponent may name a card, reveal that card. So, for example, anticipate is your opponent picks one of the cards and flips it. So these are all unknown. They just pick this one, and whatever it is, it has no effect. It does nothing. This one, they state the name of a card. So, for example, there's a card called Negotiate. So if the opponent clicked on this card and they said, Reese, reveal Negotiate, I have to find out where it is, which again, when you're playing in Tabletop Simulator, involves going to your hand and looking at all of your cards to work out which one it is. So I would need to try and like improve that. And eventually you'd go, oh, that's Negotiate. Okay, there you go. And you reveal that for the opponent. Okay, so that's the 3 red cards. Red cards, if my opponent reveals them, are quite bad for me. So I don't want to see any red cards. The next are... Where are they? Green. The next are the green cards. So you've seen Negotiate. You may conceal any 2 other cards. I need to reword this. You must conceal. You don't get a choice. So if, for example, it was kind of late in the game and all of these cards were face up and this was face down and my opponent clicked on this card and turned it face up, I would get to put 2 of them face down. I get to conceal them. So, you know, the goal of the game is to keep all of your cards hidden. So this is great for you. You get to hide some of your cards. And if I had greens up, they're also good for me, so I would probably hide these 2. Sometimes you will actually hide things that are normally bad for you. So you'll notice that there will be moments where, given the cards that are available, it might be better if you hid this, because, for example, you might want your opponent to hit this and then nullify a red that they would turn face up. So it would normally help them, but you know, because maybe you've got a lot of greens face up, you can sort of guarantee that they're going to nullify something that's good. There's a lot of different ways that you can play it, but yeah, so that's concealing. You just hide 2 cards, and again, your opponent, you know, once this goes from face up to face down, they'll know what it is, but it's not activated. So that's conceal. Retaliate is on your next turn, you may reveal 1 additional card. So once again, you sort of play on your opponent's side of the board, which is something, this is one of the important problems I want to fix with this game, that, you know, it's actually a serious problem, is that I select cards over here on my opponent's side and I have to read them. So they, you know, it's annoying that they're upside down, but Tabletop sort of fixes that. But my opponent needs to know what all of these are. So they have to they really do have to. You can't just invert the decks. They do have to remain my opponents, because if someone says reveal Negotiate, I need to be able to look through this entire deck without this person knowing. So I do have to maintain control of these cards whilst making selections over here, which is kind of annoying. But in any case, so this person reveals my green card. It's good for me. On my next turn, I get to reveal 2 cards. So, you know, on my turn, instead of just doing that and then being done, I get to do that and that. So just take an extra turn, effectively. And the final one is Obfuscate, which is conceal 1 other card. So again, the reasons these say other is it can't hide itself. But if you had 2 of these up, this says conceal 1 other card, then shuffle all concealed cards. So hide this, and then because my opponent knows the position of, let's say my opponent knows that there's a hidden Extrapolate and a hidden Negotiate, if I, you know, stack all the hidden cards, shuffle them, and then lay them back out, now he doesn't know where they are. And, you know, now the position has changed. So that's all of the greens. You get to hide 1 and shuffle, hide 2 and don't shuffle, or take an extra turn, effectively. So that's the greens. I think we've done the reds, so the blues are next. Where was that last blue? So these are kind of a combination of both. They're sometimes helpful, sometimes a hindrance. And it's kind of interesting how they... these are the only cards that the triangle structure matters for. So that's possibly something I want to change in future, because the structure of it isn't really that important. But at the same time, it's kind of interesting, and it lets people... it'll sort of make sense possibly if I do a demo game. But let me just explain it, and I think it'll become clear. Manipulate. Reveal or conceal one card below this card. Okay, so below this card are these two. So if my opponent turns this over, the call is mine to make. I get to pick which one, and I get to pick what happens. So let's say, hypothetically, this was the state of the board when they flipped this card. I could either conceal this or reveal this. I get to pick. So once again, this is why it's important that I know what these cards are. I need to be able to, be able to look in my hand at this card and go, don't want my opponent to have that, and this is great for me, so I'm going to hide that one. So it's important that I know what these cards are. So manipulate hits the two cards below it, and therefore, if this card, if this card is positioned here, it is a dead card. It does absolutely nothing. The inverse of that card is reveal or conceal one card above this card. So this is exactly the same, but it hits up instead. So if it was here, it's got two options. If it was here, it's only got the one option. And funnily enough, the math on it works out that speculate has more chances to hit, but less chances to hit two cards. And manipulate has fewer chances to hit total, because anytime it's on the bottom row, it is dead. But any other position, will always hit two cards. So you can sort of see if it was, if it was here, it's hitting 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and 12 hits. Because if it's here, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 0, 0, 0, 0. So it's got a maximum of, depending on where it works out to be, it's got 12. Funnily enough, spectate is also 12. It's just that it's got many more ones. So if it's here, that's only got one hit. 2, 3, that's here. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So, and obviously 0. So, yeah, just sort of happened that way. Wasn't actually a stroke of genius, but I find it kind of cool the way they sort of work positionally, that they have that sort of dynamic, that one is more generally applicable, but less, it gives you less options overall. And one is more, it can be completely useless, but when it is in a good spot, it does help a lot. But again, I don't know if that's a good thing, because if manipulate winds up on the bottom row on one of your games, it doesn't really feel good, and I don't know if it's a great gameplay system that that it's possible for a card to just be useless to you. So I'm not sure. That's something I want to think about. Next card. So you've seen this, you've seen this, you've seen this, not that, and that, and that. So this card is Fixate. This card has no effect. This card serves two purposes. And it's actually quite important to have a card that doesn't have an effect. So the first is, if this player is to play first, they are one card ahead, right? So I reveal this card, and then you reveal, So I reveal this card, and sort of the end state of the game ends up being that, if it's like this, and if it's like this, and I reveal this person wins instantly. This is important because if the last, and sometimes you will intentionally make sure that the last card turned up is negotiate. If it didn't end instantly, this person could just now hide 2 more cards, and the game would just, and then once obfuscate is turned, this would then be hidden. And so it could just infinitely sort of go on. And so the game is made such that if ever all of your cards are face up, you instantly lose. That is the end state of the game. And so whoever goes first has a big advantage. And so the balancing I've got in place to help with that is whoever moves first, tells the opponent this is fixate. It's not turned face up, so it still costs the opponent an action or a turn to flip it face up. But I've found that it works fairly well having just that little bit of information balances the game out quite nicely. Because, for example, it's hard to think of a situation just off the top of my head, but there'll be moments where, like for example, let's say, so it wouldn't actually happen with this one, but let's say you thought, let me set up a situation. You want more reds face down. So let's say you had a situation kind of like, it could be like this. This is probably the most extreme it would ever be. But let's say this person reveals anticipate. They know that even if it was less extreme, even if it was currently that there are 2 reds and a blue face down, you really don't want to hit a red because reds are great for me. I don't want to accidentally shoot one of my reds. So it's great that this person has that little bit of information to go, this is fixate. I'll just, instead of risking, flipping over a red and killing its effect with anticipate, because again, this is the one that reveals without activating its effect. Instead of accidentally doing that, I'll just target this one that I know is a null card. Another common one, I'll now explain this one, I guess. Double the effect of your next revealed card. So, for example, this is tied to fixate, sort of. So it's if my opponent reveals exaggerate, double the effect of your next revealed card, and then I take my turn, do whatever happens. So speculate hits up, so this would be revealed. Manipulate hits below, so they could either reveal this one or hide this one again, which makes this a big problem because it's got to be they can hide each other. And again, this is something that, because there's only one anticipate in the deck, so one flip without effect, it might be the case that that whenever these occur above and below each other, this would be particularly strong. This is hitting 2, this is hitting 2. This might be this might RNG into too strong of a thing to ever be beaten, and so I might need to put some sort of system in place that lets players, or maybe even a red card that lets you hide a red card, sort of thing. Something that lets me multiple, kill this, like flip this without its effect, so that, you know, when you flip it, they just hide this one, and then instead of just constantly being this back and forth of reveal, hide, I eventually click on anticipate, and I reveal this without its effect, and the chain is broken. So it needs more polish, needs more work with regards to how many flips you can get without an effect, because certain like random placements of the board can just result in, you know, something that I think might be unbeatable. Anyway, so double the effect of your next revealed card. So they've flipped this, I take my turn, they take their turn, and they turn anticipate. So double the effect. So this is doubled. Your opponent reveals 2 of your cards without activating its effect. So boom, boom, 2 cards. And naturally, these would have no effect. So that was a bad hit. That was potentially a good hit. However, it also... So this is yellow. This is basically a wild card. It can be both. So if it hits a red after the yellow, really bad for me. But if they hit a green, you know... So if they hit negotiate, instead of concealing 2 cards, you get to hide 4. So right at the end of the game, this could be, you know, a lifesaver. You hit this and then boom, you're basically back to a fresh board. But they will know the position of the cards, so, you know, you'll see. But there are situations in which, for example, let's say this was face up, and let's say it was like... Let's say if it was like this, and then on my turn I flip this, but also I know. Sorry, this is all related to why fixate is important. So on my turn I flip this. Okay, I know that I've got a really bad chance of this doubling the effect of a red because 2 are already visible. So I'm probably going to hit a green, and it's going to really suck. Because if I, for example, hit the green that is retaliate, instead of getting one extra card, they're getting 2 extra cards. So on their turn, they're revealing 3 cards, which is, you know, super bad. So it might be then great for this player, after flipping this, to not risk hitting that green, to instead just hit fixate, because they know it's a dead card. It does nothing. So yeah, fixate is the unsung hero of this game. It's never caused any infinites. It's never caused any game-breaking systems. It's fixed so many problems, and it did all that without having a single effect. So fixate is my favorite card. Really love fixate. It balances the game. It does it all. So yeah, fixate is cool. And so that's all of the cards. And the only other bit of information is that, and this is kind of key, is because initially when I first made this game, it was really annoying that sort of when the game started, it was like, take your turn. Okay, well, this is random. Was it good or bad? And it was like, well, okay, so 1 card above, speculate. And then my opponent gets to decide blue or green. So my opponent would probably have picked this, I think. My opponent would have picked this and then immediately hidden that again. So, I mean, that was my turn, and it was kind of like I randomly picked a card. It did a thing, and I was just kind of like, well, is that what I wanted? Or, so then, you know, my opponent may take their turn. And if my opponent, let's say my opponent hits, so for example, if you hit like negotiate early, you may conceal any 2 other cards. It's great to hit, so even though it's a green, if I hit this on the first pick, it's awesome because there's nothing to hide. So this card is dead. You've killed that card. But at the same time, it could be really good if you knew, so let's say these were my first two cards. Or even better, actually, let's say you revealed interrogate, and you using your two inspects, you went, what's this one? That's negotiate, and that's retaliate. Okay. And then you reveal this on your next turn, and your opponent is forced to hide two cards that are awesome for you. And then on the following turn, you reveal this and kill the other one that you inspected. And so it's important that you have all this knowledge, but two, you sort of want to be able to flip cards when they would be useful to you. And just playing, just randomly picking a card and then something happens, isn't, as far as I'm concerned, it's not a very good game system. Just because it's just random chance at that point. And the only time that decisions sort of made any ever mattered in this version of the game was extrapolate, was when you name a card, which card did you name, and late game, when, for example, anticipate, you might target a card that's been hidden and its position. So, you're 7 turns in and you know that this is fixate and this is retaliate. You flip anticipate and then you kill the card that you knew was there. So, to fix that, you can look at a card on your turn, and it's up to you if you reveal it now or you leave it face down. And so far, that's a good system. I've been enjoying it because obviously, if you always flip a card straight away, you just end up, being on the same sort of curve as your opponent. The game progresses at the same rate. Whereas if you leave a card face down, you have a chance to sort of do something better with it, right? So, if you played turns out with an opponent who just constantly flipped cards face up, but you kept cards hidden, so it would be, this is flipped face up, I'll leave that for later. This is flipped face up, I'll leave that for later. This is flipped face up. This person, I'll flip that one. This person's just going gung ho. For example, this one would reveal something else, and then your turn. Or I'll leave that for later. You can see that this person is very clearly winning because they've revealed so much more of, let's say, because this is my set of cards. They've just been going gung ho and they've revealed much more, whereas I know what this is, I know what this is, and I know what this is, but I haven't got anything revealed. It's been a good little strategic sort of balancing thing, that this person is ahead, but this person can sort of combo things a bit better. They could, once you've got great information, you could play, once say where exaggerate is, you could exaggerate into extrapolate, and you could state negotiate. The two cards that you state could be negotiate, reveal that, hides these two, and the second card that you state can be anticipate, which is the one that reveals a card and kills another one, and say, you might kill that one because you knew that was a green. So you can sort of intelligently play it a bit more, if that makes sense, once you know the position of cards. But it's going to take me a lot more sort of play testing to work out if intelligently playing cards is fast enough to outspeed someone who's just flipping shit. Because I'm not actually sure if it is. But the most important thing for me currently is working out a way. Basically, the game's too defensive currently. It's too easy for for this to be broken, For what may fix the game is adding a fifth row, another 5 cards, so that there's a possibility for like some more reds that hide a red, for example, or something that changes the position, like lets you forcibly break that link by changing the position of things. But it's kind of hard to say whether or not this will even work as a game, because I'm not entirely sure. Like, even if it was possible to break this link, if this player is forced to spend one of their cards, like undoing the RNG gift that this player has received, it's kind of like they're just getting, like, basically it's, I don't know, I feel like certain things are too reliant on RNG. And I'm wondering if perhaps it's because of just these 2 cards, because the only way that RNG actually matters is these 2 cards. If not for these 2, this game could exist in a grid as well. But and this is something that I didn't get to explain before, these 2 do give the game a lot of really interesting it lets you like sort of make intuitive leaps at certain points in the game. Like, so for example, you might have a situation where like this card is hidden, and say this card is hidden. Let's just turn some cards face up. And let's say you knew negotiate was here. This is the most extreme version of it, but you'll see things like this happen in the game where I know currently there is a fixate and there is a speculate. Now, if I flip the speculate, it will it will conceal or reveal. Well, if it's here, it's nothing, and if it's here, my opponent will hide this. Like, they could also hide this, but they will. This is what they're going to hide, because why would you hide that? And so, if I would have, if it was like this, the correct order of play doesn't matter. I can just flip this, and then they take a turn. On my turn, game over. However, if the card is here, it's very important that you flip this one first, because then they take their turn, and when it comes back, you flip this, and they don't get a chance to hide this because they just lost, because they're revealed. Everything's face up. And these are the only 2 cards that ever do that. There are moments where you do similar things, where you go like, I've revealed extrapolate, which card should I name, given the fact that I can see, 2 greens. You can make a smart move, but it's never positional. And I felt it was really cool going, running through the thing and going, okay, I know there's a manipulate. Manipulate hits things below it. So if this is a manipulate, like, let's say I knew what this is. Like, these are both sort of good for me. So I'm like, okay, if this is a manipulate, that's great for me. If it's a speculate, it's not that bad for me. Whereas, like, if this is a manipulate, I don't really want it because it's kind of shit right now. So I'll hit this one, hoping that it's manipulate, because if it was here, there's no reason to play it now, because it would just be a dead card. It would hit things below it and do nothing. And so that positional aspect of it was really cool to me. And I loved how manipulate did the 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 hits, whereas speculate did the inverse. Well, not inverse, but yeah. So definitely a problem with that, in that Um, there's a lot of RNG involved. I did experiment with being able to hide cards on my turn. So, for example, instead of flipping this, I could hide this. But this breaks immediately because then so it's my opponent's turn. They reveal this. My turn. Hide this. Opponent's turn. Reveal this. My turn. Hide this. And the game stalls if you had a person who wanted to be a dick. And it wouldn't, eventually. I suppose. Well, actually, now that I think about it, it probably wouldn't, right? Because your opponent, because then you would go, okay, so I know this, they've hidden, then I hide this, and then the opponent would go, okay, then what's this? And you name a card and reveal it. So I would just say, whatever, and then your opponent can hide this again if they want, but eventually you're going to hide all of the. They're just going to keep hiding the things that are good for them. But yeah, I think eventually when all of these are up and these are the hidden ones, what they can hide will eventually be more or less infinite. Like they'll, like unless this is the last card, but like let's say they hit this first, then you reveal this, they hide this, then you reveal this, they hide, this and this. Then you reveal this and they can hide this and shuffle the position of these, and even though the position is shuffled, it doesn't matter because basically, they can just keep in their turn instead of hitting your board, they can just keep hiding their own thing. So hiding doesn't really work. You need basically more of these. You need a way to intelligently target a card and hit it without its effect. A system that could be good is like a way to I'd like just take this with a grain of salt because this is probably just going to be instantly broken. But like, let's say if instead of looking at a card and killing it, like in pool, you got to call your shot before you do your crazy shot, and if it goes in, then you called it. So I got maybe a way to say, I'm naming the card negotiate. If I flip it, if I'm wrong, I lose the game, and if I'm right, I get another turn, or something like that, so that the opponent can't just. Obviously, this doesn't work because most of the time there are hidden cards, and just flipping a hidden card giving you another turn is kind of stupid. Or like, for example, maybe if you were to name the card first and you're correct, it has no effect. If you're incorrect, you like miss your next turn, or your opponent gets 2 turns, or something like that. Yeah. So basically, there's loads of different ways that I could go about this, but there's definitely a problem with the game, and that's a big one. And the final one is that these names, as I love language, and these words are really cool and everything, and they're all ending in 8. Is kind of quirky and fun, and all the words do relate to what they do. Like, if you're fixating on something, you just, you can sort of intuitively work out, no effect, fixating. Yeah, okay, I sort of see what's happening there. Or extrapolating, and so you're taking this thing and reaching another logical step. So that's what extrapolation is, and that's what the card does. Your opponent may name a card, and you get that one as well. So say this one, get that one. Interrogate. You can see why that would let you look at 2 cards. obfuscate. You can understand why that would be involved in hiding and shuffling things. You can see why exaggerate is a doubling card. So that's really cool. Manipulate and speculate are less strong, but don't go into that. Eventually, like when I made this, my logic for why one is up and one is down, and why manipulate and speculate are, their effects aren't inverted, is when you speculate, you're like having a think, and you're like looking up, and so that's why it hits up. and manipulate is like, I always thought that, like, if you're in a position of, if you're a weak, if you don't have any power, you're not really going to be that capable of manipulating the people above you. But if you're, like the boss or someone higher up, you can manipulate the people below you. And so that's, it's a bit of a stretch, but whatever. But yeah, so thematically, it's not great because it's kind of hard to remember. If you've got a bunch of cards face down, you're trying to go like, oh, there's one red. Which one is it? Extrapolate, exaggerate, anticipate, extrapolate, or interrogate, and they all sound the same. And the names are sort of not ambiguous, but what's the word? Arbitrary enough that it's sort of hard to like lock it in your head what you're trying to imagine is under here. One that someone suggested to me that was a really great idea was maybe having it be animals. So like, you could have like a shark and a dolphin, both are water based, and then you could have like the ones that are helpful for me could be herbivores, like I don't know, a giraffe, an elephant, and a buffalo. And the ones that are dangerous could be, carnivores, like a lion, a tiger, and a cheetah or something. Exaggerate could be, I don't know, frill-neck lizard, because they're very flamboyant. And this can be a sloth, because it does fuck all. And, so that's a cool idea. And it makes it a bit more clear, if you're like, oh, there are two reds, I've got the lion, remembering that the other one's a tiger and the other one's a, whatever I said, leopard. I think that it just, for whatever reason, just, it's much more clear what you're trying to remember. 3 greens, hippo, giraffe, buffalo. Even after just making them up, it's much easier for me to remember than the card names that I've been playing with for bazillions of years, obfuscate, negotiate, and retaliate. Like, it takes me a second to try and remember. I would need to come up with reasons that, like, for them to make sense. You'd want, like, why is a lion the one that reveals without the effect, and a tiger is the one that says the card and then it appears. You'd have to come up with animals that somehow are close enough that you're like, oh, okay, yeah, I see how that is connected, just to make it sort of stick in people's heads. If this was a sloth, everyone gets that. Everyone gets that, if there's a card missing, it's the one that does fuck all, that's the sloth. Easy. So the game needs work thematically. It needs work, I think, in reducing variance of RNG so that shit like this can't just destroy a game. It needs work in the sense that it's annoying that I select cards on my opponent's side of the board, and also because of the fact that my opponent needs to read these cards, they have to be written in a way that says that's as if this person, like up here, is reading them. But I'm the one who's so when I decide if I want to flip this or leave it face down, when I read it, your opponent may inspect 2 of your cards. But that's not what it does. Like, it's as if he's reading it. the person clicking right now, I may inspect 2 of his cards. Like, oh, I'll inspect that one and inspect that one. Okay, let's hide them again. But when I read it, it's wrong. So it part of that can be mitigated perhaps by saying, the owner and the attacker or whatever. The owner and the, or maybe just not even having the term, just saying, inspect 2 more cards or whatever. And that, is a little bit more ambiguous, but it doesn't have this confusion of it said which one, who's you? Is it the opponent or me reading? So yeah, it's bad that I play on their side of the board. It's bad that the flavor is not very flavorful. It's bad that RNG can destroy things. Can make the game very difficult. And it's bad that I think it's possible for there to be infinites, or basically it's possible for RNG to play much more of a role than skill. And based on the cards that are either revealed in the order they're revealed, or positioned in the order in the way they're positioned, that can make much more of an effect than the fact that I know what's good to pick if I can see this card, this card, and this card. Like, I now know what cards I want to find, and I know that a speculate here would be horrible for me. So at absolute worst, I'm going to leave that to last. I'm going to flip this next, or I flipped this. I know that, the green that gets revealed would crush me, but the reds wouldn't help me that much. So really, I should just go for the dead card. All those little bits of knowledge they don't help as much. Anyway, fuck it, let's round it up to the hour. I'll do a real quick, just sort of, now that you've seen it, like a very quick, just sort of explanation on, or like a version of playing the game. So this person's turn, obfuscate. That being revealed first is great. Let's assume that this person went first. No. I reveal this card, I go first. So this reveals, it hides nothing. It's good for me to turn up on my first turn, and I'm not going to bother shuffling, but yeah, it would shuffle the position of all these face down ones. So if there was one that was face down that I knew what it was, it's now changed position. I don't know where it is now, because this has shuffled the position of them. And this person's turn, they're going to hit this one, double the effect. They're going to leave that face down because they've got just as much chance of hitting a. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to turn this sideways, just because when I'm demoing the game, I'm not going to be able to remember the position of, 20 cards. So let's just assume if it's sideways, it's face down. This is also face down. But yeah, they know that there's just as much chances of hitting a blue as hitting a green as there is as hitting a red at the moment. It almost would be a good idea to play this straight away, because if it hits a green, like negotiate, they can't hide anything except this, so there's no real downside. But at the same time, if you knew the position of like anticipate, flipping this first it'd be real good. So they're going to keep that as a combo piece for later. Now it's this player's turn. Interrogate. That's awesome. So I'm going to inspect this one and this one. And I'm going to, obviously, let's just imagine that they've gone back face down. But I know extrapolate and I know reveal or conceal below this. So, but I don't know what these are. If I did flip this face up, I can't do that now because this just lets me see them. But if on my following turn I pick this, it's this person up here who gets to choose which one gets revealed or concealed. So this is more beneficial for this person, but it's a little bit, depending on where it winds up, it could be bad. Okay, and so now this person's turn. So they know to avoid these two. They're going to go with this one. Extrapolate. So this is kind of good for this person. So this person may want to... So this is currently face down. So for example, hitting obfuscate here would sort of suck because obfuscate would hide this, right? But once it's face down, it would also... This is also technically face down. It would shuffle the position of all cards because that's what obfuscate does. And I would lose the knowledge that this is a fixate and this is an exaggerate. So this person may pick negotiate. That's probably what I'd pick. So pick negotiate, which then, this is face down, remember, that hides this. Okay, so I've killed his best hiding card and I've kept an extrapolate for later. So again, I can't stress enough, this is face down. It's just face up so that I can remember it. Okay, now this player's turn. What's this one? Extrapolate. And see, now, for example, if this person picked, if I revealed this card and hit negotiate, just like I did there, this player could hide, would have to hide this and this. So I'd get to hide this, but they'd also hide this and shuffle. So the negotiate revealing early trick won't really work for me here. I can't go extrapolate into negotiate. So I'm just going to pick a card. Reveal or conceal one card above this card. I'm going to choose to flip that. And so my opponent is basically forced to, because there's only one card above, they have to reveal it because it's currently hidden. And so that's now kind of bad for me. So they revealed this, and then they would hide, probably obfuscate and speculate. So again, these are hidden. And so now it's, it's okay for me. I now know. But here's a great example of speculate has wound up in a position where it is targeting another card that hides cards. What could even just be the answer is speculate and manipulate, saying, negotiate. You may conceal any two other cards, not blue ones. Maybe that's all that's required. Removing blue from the... or putting on blue, this card cannot be concealed once it's been revealed the first time. Something like that. There's lots of ways to do it, and it's just really hard to it's very hard to think through just in a conceptual sense what would be best. I feel like I need to play it with someone lots of times with each variant for it to make sense. But finding someone that patient is going to be something special. So yeah, I opted to reveal this. It hit something that was really bad for me, and they used that to hide these two. So now it's this player's turn. We know extrapolate, we know exaggerate. So basically what this person probably wants to do, he's hit extrapolate, that's hidden that. I know fixate. So again, here's one of those things. So there's a speculate, there's a manipulate, there's a negotiate, retaliate, and an obfuscate. So it'd be nice to hit an interrogate. So again, this is face down. I'm going to reveal this one. Oops. I'm going to reveal this one. And the card I name is going to be interrogate, which I think is that one. Did I already know that? Is it just because I've been fucking about, or should this have been like this? I reckon interrogate told me, oh, whatever. Any case, I'm going to say that one. So that's flipped face up, like properly, permanently. And I'm going to inspect this and this. So now I know what they are. This is more or less like suitable shorthand as well. Like when I play with people, this is probably what I'll do, is turn them sideways and then just say, like, turning them face forward is the same as flipping them to be face forward, if that makes sense. So, you win when the deck is aligned and revealed instead of just aligned. Because, it works. So, yeah, I'm going to use that to inspect. And so now I know many more, puzzle pieces. I now know where anticipate is, and I know where fixate is. So if this player can locate all they need to locate is like where speculate and manipulate are out of these, and then they can hit this to get double the effect of this to kill, 2 cards out of the 3. This is no threat, and then this could be revealed last. And but again, the problem could be that based on where speculate and manipulate have wound up, they might hit in such a pattern that it just involves an infinite, and there's no way to beat this arrangement. So yeah, but so I've inspected them. This player's turn. This player is going to extrapolate. And again, this is much harder when you're trying to like bounce back and forward. Normally, when you're only playing with your own cards, you're thinking about, what I know my opponent has, and you've got a very simple, it's much easier than me trying to show you the thought process that 2 players would have when evaluating which cards to reveal or not. So speculate is above, so I definitely don't want to flip that. I definitely don't want to flip that. Manipulate. Now that I know that this isn't going to hit a negotiate, a speculate, or an obfuscate, I don't actually care, because eventually I'll probably hit retaliate. So I'm going to pick this because this is effectively 2 cards. I reveal this, and it forces the reveal of one of these. So my opponent would... So, tough call. And see, here's where it would be important for the opponent to consider. So these are the other 2 cards, right? So if they pick this, then on the following turn, there's a even chance that... Well, actually, it's probably best to reveal this, because... Or even... Basically, what I'm getting at is if they reveal this, you might accidentally destroy, the card I pick might be this one, and then they've just, selected for me the thing that kills them. But if they pick this on the following turn, what will I then do? Because if I... that's something I've never even considered. If I look at this card and don't use it, does this wait for the next? Because that's not really been revealed. That's been inspected. So technically, you could just flip this and then keep looking until you find something that you want to double. But maybe that should be reworded. Like, instead of double the effect of the next card revealed, double the effect of the revealed of a card revealed on your next turn, like only on your next turn. But in any case, so I flip that. The opponent's going to pick. I think exaggerates better because it forces. But if they pick that, it's real bad. I think they go this because then they can guarantee that this isn't going to combo into this, which would be very bad. And then with anticipate, because this chains into this, which chains into another selection, this I get to pick, and let's just shuffle these to simulate what I would actually know. Let's pick, because I don't get to back out of this. It's retaliate. Boom. Awesome hit for me. Okay. So that's dead. It does nothing. Then this player's turn. Now they know where anticipate is. They want to know what these are. Speculate. Reveal or conceal one card above. And one's manipulate. So I'm going to flip this. I can't, in my head, I've forgotten what this one could be. I just know that one's manipulate. And so that's actually not so bad. So they could either flip this, which would then hide, because this is hidden. They could hide this again, which doesn't really hurt me. It just swaps, this for this. Or they could flip this. And I think they'd probably go with that. So now when it goes back, this person gets 2 picks, which is probably the game. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this player's got 5 cards hidden. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Actually, no, it's dead even at the moment. Okay. So I get 2 picks. So this is me. I get to pick. I know there's a speculate, an obfuscate, an extrapolate. So I've still got an extrapolate. So I can name. Now, yeah. Again, I wouldn't have known which is the doubling card. So the fact that that's hidden and I don't know where it is good. And there's no reds left, which means one's fixate. And I know, what's this one? Above. I know that's... Yeah, so it might have been important for me actually with anticipate to not have picked one of these ones, to have actually hit this. So it killed that chain. Because this, so unless it's flipped last, it's going to fuck me. That needs to be second to last. Yeah, see this arrangement is very lucky for this person. But so what I would probably do is I would expose extrapolate. I would state, I definitely don't want to exaggerate, because when I eventually reveal, well, actually I know what these are. Yeah, so I'd say exaggerate. It's either this one or, whoops. So it's this one. Whoops. On my next turn, I'll hit this, and then eventually when I start dealing with these guys, there's less cards to, when this is flipped, there's less cards that are going to be shuffled. So my knowledge isn't going to be as impaired later. So this guy's turn, coming back here. So now he knows this is speculate. This is, sorry, was that 2 flips from retaliate? This one hit manipulate, which triggered down. Okay, so I think this person's got one more turn, sorry. And so they'd flip fixate immediately after the exaggerate. So that's their turn. So this person's only got 2 left. So that all happened in the one turn because of retaliate being flipped for this guy. That being said, it's now this person's turn, and they come over here and they go... They flip this, exaggerate, planning next turn to hit anticipate and target the 2 cards that they know. See, this is doubling. So 1, 2, and then this is a fixate. So they're safe. So there's a clock now. This game is over in 1 turn, 2 turns. So when this person has 2 more turns, this game is over. So flip that. Now this person's turn. They reveal... yes, if they picked this one, reveal that, which hides this. Whoops. Reveal that, which hides this, hides negotiate. And then... yeah, so there has to be... because this will be infinite, I think. In any case, so this person's turn now. They're coming back to this board. They flipped this, so now they flip this one. Oh, that's why it's happening, because I've got multiple cards selected. So they flip this one, and I pick this one, which I know is manipulate. That's dead, does nothing. And I flip this face up. That's dead, does nothing. Okay, so now this person takes their turn back over here. Oops. They would reveal this one, I think, because they want to hide one card and then shuffle the position. But see, yeah, so this is a problem. Like, for example, if they hid retaliate, and now they shuffle these, now you don't know where negotiate is, and you've basically just got... it basically... actually, now that I think about it, it's not the worst, because it doesn't ruin the game, because I can choose if I want to flip it. So basically, it just means that I have to now go flip that, you get 2 turns, and then next turn I flip this. And if it was the other way around, I'd reveal this. Nope, don't want to flip that now. That's 1 turn, 2 turns, 3 turns. So it's either 2 turns or 3 turns, but yeah. In any case, so reveal obfuscate, shuffle these, like hide one, shuffle the hidden cards, and now it comes back to this guy's turn, and he reveals this one. Fixate. So, boom, and that's game. Immediately over. One thing that could potentially fix this is just doing it based on score. So you could say this person got 10 points, this person got 9, or sorry, 8. So you get a point, you get up to 10 points for, and then do like a best of whatever, best of 30 or best of like first to 30 or something. So you're playing across time, so it matters less when RNG just does something crazy strong. But I mean, even then, just keep in mind that I thought that this combination of of negotiate and speculate being next to each other, I thought the chain of this into this would be too strong to beat. And really, this guy won. And this was the guy who was doing the slow play of the, what's this? Now I'll keep that hidden. What's this? Keep that hidden. What's this? Keep that hidden. And it just sort of happened that way. It wasn't that I was intentionally playing this guy to be the observer. It was just that given the cards that I revealed, it made sense for me to go, oh, okay, I'll save that for later. And, interrogate. So now what are these two? Okay, I'll leave them face down for later as well, because I don't want to risk them chaining into something weird or whatever. So, yeah, I'm not really sure. I think maybe I'm undervaluing how useful it is to be able to see and hide and not reveal a card is. And I think, doing it based off points, and not just this like brutally definitive, you flip the cards, you win. That's the end of the game. That's the end of all the games. There is one winner. Everything's over. That may be too much. But there's no getting around the fact that playing on this person's board is annoying, and there's no getting around that the flavor is bland and tasteless. Anyway, yeah, if you've I don't know if you've got any questions or if you want to play or whatever, let me know, comments, etc. And yeah, I hope you like the video. It's something I've got a couple of other card games that I'm working on. They're just at pen and paper stages at the moment, and it would take me too long to digitize them. So it just because of the nature of them, like I'm not even going to get into it. It would take a long time. But yeah, if you've got any feedback on this or any thoughts, even if you think that there's a way to fix it, something that if you allow, if you just change the text on this card, then it can't be infinite, and it's but it's still an elegant solution or whatever. Yeah, if you can come up with something, that's awesome. Yeah, and I encourage people to give making your own game a go, because I really enjoyed it, and like I love the way this game, like the little logics of it. I think it's really cool. Yeah, so thank you for watching. I'll see you around. Cheers.